Hello everybody, my name is Maxim and I am from Codejig team. In this video, I would like to explain you what is an embedded type in our app builder. So basically an embedded data type is a data type that comes across as a helping one for some other ones. So they don't have their own web pages, they are not used just by themselves. They're mostly used to augment some other existing or future data types. And let me demonstrate you the way we work with embedded data types with some examples. So I already created a basic application, 2 pages application. The first one is for some project details and project managing page. And the second one is for creating your own to-do list and describing some details as well. But as you can see, it is not finished by now. We have some missing part in here and some missing project manager details. And the result we want to achieve looks like that. So here we have the information about a list owner in our to-do list page. The same thing for our project. We have a project manager information. Then we have a table of different tasks for each project, and the same thing of the tasks for a to-do list. And we will try to add those missing components and realize some functionalities using embedded data types. The first thing we want to realize is creating these 4 fields and adding them to our web page. And we will create an embedded data type containing these 4 fields: name, surname, email, and phone number. The reason we'll create a data type is because these 4 fields are the same for both of our pages, and it is not the best way just to drag these 4 fields separately to each of our page. Maybe for 2 pages it won't play a huge difference, but imagine that you have an enormous application with numerous pages that have the same application form. In this case, it will be much more logical and it will save you much more time. And the reason we will create an embedded data type for these 4 fields is because we will not need this application form as a separate web page or some separate functionality. We will just need them to augment our existing pages. And let's try to create them. To do this, let's just move to our app builder in this way. And to create an embedded data type, we should go to the data types folder and unfold the button add new. And let's create a new embedded data type called responsible, which means responsible for the project, responsible for the to-do list, etc. Just in this way. And right here, where we have the data type details page, we want our fields to be located on the page as regular ones. We want this data type to act as these 4 regular fields. And to do this, we should create a web page view for our embedded data type called responsible. So let's do it just like this. And right now we can add those fields right from our web page view. This might have been confusing, but the fact that we create a web page view for our embedded data type doesn't mean that we can have an entire web page of this embedded data type. This web page view actually allows us to edit the way these fields, in our case these 4 fields, will look on this page. So to add these fields in those 2 group boxes separated like that, we should just create a web page view for our embedded data type and edit the layout right in here. So let's do it just like there, split it like that. Let's add the field called name, then the field called surname, and email field, just like that, and also our phone number in this way. So we just created it, And again, so this web page view only edits the way these fields will be located on some other pages, but it doesn't mean that we can have an entire web page of this specific data type, because embedded data type cannot have its own web page. It only augments some other web pages. And let's just save our page and let's try to add those fields to both of our pages. To do this, let's just move to our web pages. Choose right here, let it be the first one, our project. And let's add a new field, pressing on this plus. It must be a regular field. And let's just type here project manager as well. And choose responsible data type that we just recently created. And let's just create it. And right here it appeared in our existing fields. Let's just drag it to our web page. And as we can see, we just added those 4 fields in a much faster way than just dragging these 4 fields to each of the page. So you'll see it when we just do it for the second page. And they are located just as we wanted them to be. And let's also add them to the second page, so our web pages. Let's save our progress at first. Web pages, then to-do list, click to add it. Then again, regular, list owner, and responsible, just in this way, create. And let's again drag them in here. And as we can see, everything worked much faster. Maybe it didn't play a huge role for 2 pages, but just imagine if you have at least 10 pages that need this same application form, and you will need always to drag these 4 fields, and it's just not the best way to do this. And as you can see, when you try to put the cursor on these fields, it is written here that this is an embedded data type. These fields are parts of an embedded data type. And yes, we just retrieved the result that we wanted to be in here on our list, to-do list page and on our project page, just in this way. The next thing we want to achieve looks like this table. So here we have the table of different tasks of a specific project, and we will try to create this table using an embedded data type. So at first we need to create an embedded data type containing all of those fields, head, description, state, and others. And the reason we will do it with an embedded data type is, again, because as you can see on our application, we do not have a web page of some task type or something in this way. This task data type embedded one will only augment our existing pages. In our case, it is a project and a to-do list. So let's at first create it. Let's move to our app builder, to the data types page, and choose embedded data types, and let's call it tasks. Create it. And right now, let's add these missing fields. So we just added those fields to our embedded data types, such as header, description, state, and others. And right now, let's just add them to our web pages. For this example, let's just add them to our project web page because it will be used in some further examples. And right now, let's just add some field to an existing ones. And in our case, as we want the table, it's going to be a collection. And let's call it tasks and choose our tasks data type. Let's create it and drag it from our existing fields just in this way. And as we can see, we just added this collection to our web page. And to show you some functionalities of an embedded table, let's publish our application to see what we just got. Save. Our application has just been published. Let's open it and see the result. And as you can see, we just got a table with our tasks. And the greatest feature of an embedded table is that you can add and edit instances right on the table. So let's click on Add New. And as you can see, all of the fields appeared in here. And you can just enter some information here. So for example, the first one, let it be hire a new developer. Then you can enter description. Then you can enter the state of the task, its priority, deadline, and others. And right now, let's try to add some useful manipulations with our embedded table. The result we want to achieve looks like this. So here we have the same table, and whenever we add a new task, so like this, the number of total tasks is instantly updated. So let it be hire a new developer again. And then as we try to delete a task in this way, the number of total tasks will be updated as well. So right now it's 0. Another great tool we can add. So here we have our project deadline, for example, August 6th. And right now let's try to add a new instance. And as you can see, the deadline for tasks will be automatically set to the deadline of a project. And another great tool we can add, so here we have our deadline with the project deadline, but if the user tries to enter a deadline which is further than the deadline of the project, so the deadline of our task, let it be August 8th, he will instantly get a message that the deadline of the task does not fit in project's deadline. To achieve this result, let's go to our builder and go to our project page, just in this way. And the first thing we need to do, we should add an according field. So it's going to be an integer that will display our total tasks. So let it be total tasks. Again, we create it, and let's disable it as it will be always dynamically updated, just in this way. And right now, to add those actions, we should click on our table and go to folder actions. So the first action we should add is row inserted, which will be responsible for setting an automatic deadline for a new task and for adding a task, so adding 1 to the number of total tasks whenever a task or row in our case is inserted. So let's click on it and get redirected to the code block editor. And the first thing we need to do, we need to set to our total tasks new value. So just in this way, and this value is gonna be the previous number of total tasks. So let's get our variable plus 1. So just like that, and yes. And we should just add 1, just in this way. And right now we want to set an automatic deadline. So to do this, we should at first check whether the project itself has the deadline. So we add an if block and we add a comparison block. So we go to our item, which is project, and check if the project itself has a deadline. So we compare it with null. And if it has, so it's not equal to null, we should iterate through the collection of inserted rows or tasks in our case. And so to do this, we add a for loop. So let's just type it, for each get. We iterate through our for loop, and we should indicate the collection. So show inserted variable, let's get it, just like that. And for task, in our inserted tasks, we should instantly set its task deadline. So we should show task variable. So let's set it to a specific deadline. So in our case, it's going to be the project's deadline. So we can get this variable and set the deadline of the project to the deadline of our task. And right now, let's move folder back. So let's save our code and go to our web pages again, just in this way. And another action we should add for now is row deleted, which is in here. They will be responsible for subtracting one whenever of total tasks, whenever a task is deleted from the list. So we just click on it, get redirected to the code block editor, and right now let's again set the new value of our item total tasks, just in this way. So we set it, and let's again add a summing block, but we should just switch to minus. And we subtract from the number of total tasks. So let's get it. Just like that. Yes, we subtract 1. So let's just drag this field block in here, just in this way. And right now, let's save it all again, publish our application to see the result. Our application has just been published. Let's open it to see the result. And right now, let's test everything. Let's click on Add New button, just in this way. And as you can see, the number of total tasks instantly upgraded. Let it be hire a new developer as well. Then let's try to delete this instance, just in this way. And the number of total tasks instantly got upgraded, and right now it's 0. Then let's try to set a deadline for our project. Let it be August 6th. And let's try to add a new instance. And as you can see, the deadline is automatically set. And right now, let's try to add an action when we check if the deadline of our task fits in project's deadline. To do this, let's move to our builder. And right now, we're not going to add an action whenever a row is inserted into our table. We're going to check if the row, especially its deadline, is changed. So we need to at first move to the project data type because this table and this deadline field is located on the project web page. So let's just look for it, project. Just in this way, let's select it. And right here, we should go to our tasks collection or table and unfold it. And as we're going to check whether the deadline has changed, we should create an on-field change event for our deadline. So just click on this button and we are redirected to the code block editor. And right here, the first two things we need to change whether those two deadlines actually exist. So we should add an if block, then we should add an and block, and two comparison blocks. So just duplicate them. And in the first one, we're going to check whether the project's deadline is not null. So let's get it, just like that, then null, get it. And in the second one, we'll be checking whether the deadline of this changed row actually exists. So let's show changed variable. Let's get this deadline. Changed a variable represents the row that we're checking right now, and check if it's not equal to null. So yes, let's just switch those equality signs to non-equality signs. And right now, if it does, we should compare whether this project, or whether the deadline of the task is not further than the deadline of the project. So we just add another if block. And right here, we should check whether the item deadline or project's deadline is not less than the deadline of our task. So we get this variable, or for better understanding, we could do it like that, whether the deadline of our task is not bigger than the deadline of our project, just like that. And if it is so, we should just add an alert block, warning, where we should indicate our message. So we do it like that. The deadline of the task does not fit in project deadline, just in this way, like that. And right now, let's save everything and publish our application to see the result. Our app has just been published. Let's open it in this way. And let's at first set the deadline for the project to check it. And let's try to add a new instance. So the automatic deadline is set. And let's change it to the one that does not fit in the project. And yes, we instantly get the message that the deadline of the task does not fit in project's deadline. And as we finish talking about embedded data type and embedded collections, I would like to tell you about some restrictions towards embedded collections. So the first thing, an embedded collection cannot be a virtual collection because of its specific structure. The next thing I want to tell you is that for now, embedded collection has only a table view. It does not have the view of a multi-select list. Um, the next thing about an embedded table is that whenever you added embedded table inside some other instances, in our case it is project, this table will not be saved with its own instances, in our case tasks, until the main instance that embedded table helps will not be saved. So this table will not be saved until we click save and close on the entire instance. And the next thing, embedded data type cannot contain collection fields in itself. As an addition to this video, I would also like to introduce you to a notion of transient fields in Codejig App Builder. You may have encountered this tick, so let me demonstrate you it. Let's go to our web page and try to add a field. And whenever you add some fields, you may always see this button is transient. And right now I'd like to explain you what it means. Generally, transient fields are the fields that are only used in some code manipulations, but are not stored in the database because there is no need to store them in there. There is always a difficult choice, but I'll demonstrate you right now how to choose whether the field should be transient or not, and I'll demonstrate you some useful example of using transient fields. In our project page, here is an instance, and I just added another column to our tasks table, another field to our tasks data type that displays whether the task is overdue or not. And the reason I created this field as a transient one is because it is basically a field that we just want to view. There is no need to store it in the database. It is daily updated, and there is no actual reason to store it in a database, as we only use it for some viewing and not for some compulsory information. And right now I want to show you the way I realized this function. To do this, let's move to our builder at first. And the first thing we need to do, we need to create this field of overdue and add it to our tasks data type. So let's go here, look for tasks, just in this way. And right here, we should just add this field by clicking plus as a regular one. And let's call it overdue. And the data type will be Boolean because this field will have only values of true or false, whether the task is overdue or not. And we mark it as transient, as I explained, just like here. And we create it. And as we want this information, whether the task is overdue or not, to be loaded whenever we load an instance of our project instance, we should add a load action to our project data type. Let's just type it in here, go to the data type details page and create new action, which is gonna be load. create, and we are redirected to the code block editor. The first thing we need to do in our code block editor is to get today's date. For some more detailed information about it, you can view some of our other videos where we explain how to work with dates. So the first thing we need to do is to get a time zone. So we create a variable of time zone. Let's call it in this way as well. Time zone. Then we should set it to one of our built-in functions, which is get default time zone, which gets the time zone of the application. Afterwards, we should create a variable of local date, just in this way. Create it, and let's call it today. Yes, then we should set it a new value, which is going to be the result of function now for our local date, which takes our time zone as an argument. So let's just get it, and just in this way. And right now we should check whether our tasks is overdue or not. To do this, let's add a for loop just in this way, like that. For each task in our tasks collection, so let's go to our project variable and get tasks collection, just in this way. And we should add an if block. We should first check whether the task has deadline, and then we should check if the deadline of the task was before today. And to do this, we add an if block and add an end block and two comparison blocks, just in this way and in this way. In the first, we check whether the deadline exists. So we go to task, get its deadline, and check whether it's not equal to null, non-equality sign. And in the second part, we check if the deadline of the task was before today. So we again go to our task deadline and we set the lesser value and get our today variable just in this way and compare it. And if it is, we set to our task overdue field in this way the value of true, and true just in this way, get it, and yes. Right now let's publish our app to see the result, like that, and build, and afterwards deploy. Our app has just been published. Let's open it just in this way and move to a recently created instance. And as you can see, everything worked out as we wanted it to be. We have two tasks matched as overdue because their deadlines are overdue. And let's try to update our instance to watch it as it's done. So let it be new task in process, and let's set a deadline for a month ago, just in this way. Right now let's try and save and close, and as we move here right now, we can see that this new task is matched as overdue as well. Guys, I hope this video was really helpful for you, and today you learned about an embedded data type and transient fields in our app builder. And please do not hesitate to contact us for some extra support if you need it. Bye.